perspectives, we'll be talking about issues that are with us. Yeah, they're trending, and of course, what the world is saying with the elections, that have come and gone in America. Are there lessons for us to learn as we, march towards 2023? What are the things that we just must be looking at to give us credible, free, fair, and credible elections that all will believe that it is indeed credible elections? And to share thoughts with me on that, I have Dr. Usman Abdurrahman with me in the studios. He's a comrade and a public affairs analyst. And together we'll just be looking at it. Dr. Abdurrahman, we're glad to have you in our studios this morning.
It's my pleasure to hear
right.
you. Good morning, listeners.
Yes, let me go with what is coming out in Nigeria today. We all are witnesses that, yes, there's been cry from all over the place that service chiefs needs to be changed. And people say put more breath into the security architecture of the country, and of course with the fight on Boko Haram, and then we're talking about banditry, kidnapping, taking its toll on living in Nigeria. It's not getting any better. It's getting worse. People are being raped, people are killed, and we just wonder how long will this last. And again, we share the thoughts of what happened in Sokoto, in Katsina, and all of that. It's becoming worrisome. With these new service chiefs that we have now, that the president has given us, are you seeing a breath of life, coming into the security architecture of the country?
Well, it's a step forward anyway, though after a very lackadaisical approach to governance and hues and cries of Nigerians. And it is coming with a very high attrition rate. What do I mean? To the best of my knowledge, as it is today, no less than 20 generals within the three services will have to be retired because of this appointment. And you know what it takes to train an officer to the level of a general in any army. That is one. I expected that General Buhari, as I prefer to refer to Buhari, I expected that he will give them a mandate, a time frame, particularly within which to nip insurgency, particularly Boko Haram and banditry in the board. I did not see that. Well, perhaps, maybe those in the kitchen, though we know they are outside the four walls of government, but those who call the shots are not really those who see in the Federal Executive Council. I hope the Jodas and co will advise him as appropriate that these officers and men who have been so elevated after the morale of the armed forces has been so debased about the continual retention of the immediate past service chiefs. I hope that will be part of the key issues that they need to look at. For me, I'm not comfortable until I see the total or near annihilation of Boko Haram, until we get the head of Shekau, until banditry and kidnapping is nipped in the bud. Because security is the justification for the existence of any government. That makes the difference between us and animals. To say you have an organized society, it provides the fabric for governance. It provides the fabric for development. So in the absence of this critical issue, there cannot be any thorough developments as the case might be. We have seen what has been happening in the Niger Delta. And of course now, I was even worried when Tony Alabi came late, because I was preparing some ransom money, I said, just in case, to salvage the situation. That is to say how bad the thing is, become like pure water. In your homes now, you are not secured. Before it used to be in outskirts or on the road, but they come right in the dead of the night. We've seen that in Malali, in the heartbeat of Kaduna. We've seen that at Sabon Tesha and elsewhere in Abuja now, right in the heart of Abuja. It's happening. So I think we really need to not only change the service chief, but to me, key, very key, the relations between the military and the civil society, civilian, the populace must be enhanced. Why? Because it's critical for building a thorough, through and through intelligence network. We equally need to overhaul our intelligence architecture, because as far as I'm concerned, I see the failure of the DSS. The DSS have been so politicized now, they are after Showore and what have you. Well, what they are supposed to be after is getting intelligence, which will help the other security arms, particularly the police, which is the chief security, which is the chief agency responsible for security of the society. Provide intelligence to nip acts of criminalities and what have you, particularly against the state in the board. So we need to take a thorough look at our security architecture, because all that we are facing, you cannot take out the failure of intelligence architecture, how it is harnessed, how it's collected, how it's processed, and how it's utilized. These issues are very critical, so the president should move a step forward and ensure that a thorough overhaul of this is done.
Dr. Abdulrahman, something is showing out, with what we have in the country. Earlier on, some analysts have said that this alliance is an unholy alliance, and it's a marriage that some people would say would fail, and that at the start of it, that it wasn't properly arranged, at the time of independence and all of that. But here we are. We have a country, Nigeria. Of course, some people have questioned if we have a country. What we're seeing coming out, some people talk about marginalization, some people will talk about nepotism, in governance, and we see all things coming out of on governance. And it has also been showing now that people are just not happy with the arrangement. At a time in this country, you could say that yes, we're living brothers and sisters, but something has just been done to that, so much so that we have the IPOB from the southeast. Now we're seeing a trend from the southwest, and if you go by it, with what is coming out in Ondo and some parts of the Amotekuns and all of that, or the thing is that especially on farmer herder clashes, that people must come to register now if they have to carry on their activities, and of course colonization of farmlands and all of that is all thrown out now. And analysts are saying that this must be properly handled. And of course we talk about what you've talked about, the banditry that we see again in the north, not to talk of the northeast with the Boko Haram. And so with all of that showing this fragility that we have in keeping Nigeria one, are you worried?
I'm seriously worried. As somebody who is one of the generations of the late 50s, as somebody who is deeply concerned about the future of this country, as an activist, as a comrade, and as somebody who have studied governance, particularly under General Buhari, looking at his historical antecedents when he ran a military regime and what he's doing now. Honestly, I will tell you that a lot of these agitations are due to the way governance is being run, to the way those who hold the levers of government have been circumscribed, more or less, not to a particular region, but to a larger extent to cronies. Cronism has thrived so much under the government of General Buhari, and that is why. And again, like I spoke on a program yesterday, I called for the removal of service chief, and I called for the removal of Garba Shehu. Because some of the people who are in the kitchen of the government, the way they talk, you begin to reason whether are they representing Nigeria's interest or an ethnic or regional interest. It's very unfortunate. The failure of government to ensure security of lives and property has further hyped issues. And that is why for the first time in the history of Nigeria, people are crying more than ever now for community policing. People are now crying more than ever for a regional security network. And that is what has led to the Amotekun, and that is what is breeding the one you are having in the southeast. And that is what is breeding the call more than ever for restructuring. The call for restructuring more or less has to do with not just allocation of resources, but allocation of key positions in governance. It's one thing even to allocate the positions, but we know that at times there are some other people who really dictate what happens in the government of General Buhari, who necessarily don't even hold political appointments. These are some of the worrisome issues. I know of instances where Mr. President has ordered that something should be done, but somebody whose name is not anywhere, even amongst the appointees of General Buhari, decides otherwise, and it stays that way. And that took us to the situation in which even the Chief of Staff appointed himself, the late Chief of Staff Abba Kyari, appointed himself as the director of the NNPC, while still holding forth as a member, as the Chief of Staff to the President. He signed it on, and he never knew. So that is to tell you that perhaps one can conclusively say that General Buhari sought for power for 12 years, but without a clear-cut blueprint of what he wanted to do with power. Perhaps the perquisite of office. Not when you say perquisite does not necessarily mean amassing wealth alone, but the allure that goes with being in power. Because I find it very disastrous and very, very telling on the nation, and very unimaginable that for me, if I want to do something, I set out my goals. What do I want to achieve if I get that? We know this government came on the hype of insecurity in the country. That was one of the major reasons why this government was elected. And people felt that perhaps now we have tried civilians, let's try an army general. Let's try this man that has been weeping for Nigeria. Why his cries really genuine? But for me, I say Nigerians have found that those cries were crocodile tears. Crocodile tears, you say why? Because he said within 6 months he will terminate Boko Haram. 6 years on, Boko Haram is waxing stronger. People tell me and say that look, territories are not being held. Territories are not being held where? We have seen instances where state capitals were almost captured, which we never witnessed under the regime of PDP.
That's the perspective with which you are coming now. I see where you're driving your point from.
So what I'm saying is this. Yes, supposedly we gain grounds, as they say in the social media and in the media generally, but as soon as a town is taken, give it a matter of 2-3 weeks, you hear Boko Haram has gone back there. So the game plan must change. Our security forces must be able to hold the ground. It's not just about capturing a place or driving out Boko Haram, but they should be able to hold the ground. And I think there is need for a thorough investigation and audit of what is being expended on this insurgency and insecurity. Why? For 2 reasons. We have had instances whereby prominent people from Borno, like the immediate past governor Kashim Shettima, said it on the floor of the Senate. You have a situation whereby troops are sharing arms amongst themselves. And unfortunately, again, you have a situation whereby the army will come and even publicize what he wants to do next. What kind of army is that? You don't publicize your plan. Let them feel the heat. When we acquired the MRAP, the anti-mine vehicles, it was so advertised. They virtually disclosed the location where the vehicles will be deployed, and within a jiffy, 2 or 3 of the vehicles were captured by Boko Haram. So we need to really look at it. It appears there's a synergy between some people in the military high command and Boko Haram. And I've heard some people passively saying that
these are hearsays, right?
I said perhaps.
Yes, okay.
There's a synergy. Because you begin to link all those happenstances. Why should it be this way? And of course too, even for those of us who are not in the war front, we know within the Kaduna Abuja property market that most of the choicest properties that are being procured now are being procured by these military officers. Where is the money coming from?
They don't have facts on that, but let's just stay with
that is the situation. Because if we want to save this country, we must wipe corruption in its entirety. But we know the kind of war on corruption that this government is fighting. The war on corruption has been fought by this government is war on PDP. Not war on corruption properly in quote. And that's why Professor Ise Sagi, who is the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Corruption, came out and voiced his concern that corruption has never had its nest so festered as we have it under this government. That is from the kitchen of Aso Rock. That is sad enough. Because corruption affects the ability of any government to deliver. Whether it was insecurity, whether it was infrastructure, or whatever you call it.
Well, we're still looking at trending issues, what's coming out of the state. And I want to take you out a little bit and just come back. We have a new president in America today, Joe Biden. But again, lessons to learn from what had come out of America. Democracy was, we called America the seat of democracy, but again, we saw the threat, that was on the seat of democracy, where,
the attack on Capitol.
The attack on the Capitol. All of that took place. And then we saw, another thing that came out was the hate that, came out of that society too. And then bringing it back home. We some people say that's about what is trending too. But again, as we're working towards, 2023, what we must guard against, again, all in keeping this country one, what we must seriously guard against, because utterances coming from the divides of the country are not, showing that this country is about unity, that we have one country and we work for that country. That's not showing with what we're seeing. Your concerns here?
My concern here is that we need to engender strong institutions. You can see in America, it's not about Trump as a personality. Even the Republicans stood their grounds and ensured that the part of constitutionality carried the day. Look at the American justice system. Within the span of 2 months, all cases, never in the history of America has an election been so challenged the way it was challenged by Donald Trump and his men. But within the span of 2 months, the matters were completely decided. If you remember, before the 2020 November 3rd elections, well before that, President Trump ensured that his nominees for the Supreme Court had their way. So the feeling people were gathering is that yes, there will be cases coming to the Supreme Court and then they will suddenly decide in favor of Trump. But you can see the outcome. They stood their ground, they stood for America, they stood for the Constitution, they stood for the nation. But in Nigeria, as it is, the Judiciary has been so annihilated. The voice of the legislative arm is not strong. Everybody is being arms twisted. Why am I saying this? Several resolutions have been passed by the National Assembly, and yet what happens? Nothing. They are just thrown to the trash bin. Initially, people felt Sadaki was the problem in the 9th Assembly. And you remember when this current assembly was sworn in, both leaders of both chambers said they will do all it takes to ensure they cooperate with the executive arm. But we know several times they've had to weep. They've had to express disgust as to the way resolutions of both chambers were being treated with levity by the executive arm. So we must ensure that we have strong institutions, not the kind of thing that we have now that everything is about Buhari. And the Buhari, we don't really know whether, well, I will not say we don't really know, but most Nigerians today, I want to say that more than 95% of Nigerians today believe that Buhari is not really the one holding the levers of power.
That's a matter of opinion here. Your opinion. Yeah.
Most Nigerians, because people are so disappointed. People is out of the disappointment, out of the frustration that with the Buhari they used to know the level of corruption in government that is ongoing. With the Buhari who, as a general, overran and almost captured the N'Djamena, the capital of Chad, tolerating the insurgency that you have today. So people look at some of his antecedents within the military and wonder, is this the same General Buhari? And that is why the issue of Sudan and what have you, people were throwing and banding that around. I believe it's same Buhari, but maybe the Buhari we have has been capped.
The program is Perspectives today, and we're looking at trending issues both here at home and abroad. We're talking about having one country or having a country. Of course, Chinua Achebe at one time wrote that there was a country. For those that have read that book, it just showed that what we're placed with or what we're faced with Nigeria is, should be a concern of all. And of course, we're marching towards 2023, and where people have said, or analysts have said, that election or the election of 2023 will be critical, very critical to, having a country. And Dr. Usman Abdurrahman, a comrade and of course a public affairs analyst with us, giving us his thoughts on where we are with Nigeria. We go for a commercial break. Be back with you shortly. Welcome back as the program Perspectives this morning on Invicta 98.9, and we're talking about matters arising and insecurity. We looked into that, and of course America and lessons to learn from the elections there. Dr. Abdurrahman, Usman Abdurrahman, my guest in the studio. Doctor, over the years, and Nigeria has earned itself a name that some people would say, that could never be, but here we are with it, that some people refer to Nigeria as the poverty capital of the world now. Again, third in the ranking of most terrorized countries.
Exactly, those are the facts.
And then you put all names. What about the number of children not going to school? All of that. We're saying that, and these are not, in any way they're not carrying the system too. And of course, we begin to ask and say at this point, what needs to be hurriedly done for Africa, Nigeria in Africa, and what we're seeing now?
First of all, I put it to Lai Mohammed, who has been claiming that the government of the APC government has done better than the PDP years, all the PDP years put together, to confront these statistics, because these statistics are very real. There is no propaganda about it. Those are the facts. Nigeria is the third most terrorized state in the world, in the globe. The failure of security in its entirety. And the poverty capital. In the 6 years adventure of General Buhari in government so far, we have witnessed 2 recessions in quick succession. We are still in the second one. We don't know how and when we'll get out of it. We don't know at the end of the day what the exchange rate will come up to. But like I did mention to someone well before now, I'm privy to know that the exchange rate they are looking at is about 700 naira. Now we are actually at 500. We are still counting. So, unless and until the narratives of governance is people-centric, the corruption in governance is totally or almost completely annihilated. If you look at the various probes by the National Assembly, we have had issue of billions of naira being misappropriated in the Ministry of Health. What has happened? Nothing. We have had issue of accusation against the Minister of Defense. What has happened? Mom is it. We have even had issues of how the probe of Magu was handled in a very funny pattern that makes Nigerians to believe that it's because of the thoroughness of Magu in prosecuting the anti-corruption war that some people in government are not happy about, and they see that at the end of the day he may come after them, and that is why they are taking him out of the system. So there is a synergy between the way governance is delivered and poverty. There is a synergy between good governance and security. You see, when there is no good governance, it happens poverty. When there is no good governance, it happens poverty. And when poverty is happened, it happens insecurity. And when the literacy rate again is low, it's an addendum. And that is why, if you follow the reports of the Nigerian Educational, what is it called? I've forgotten it. There's this body that did an evaluation of the rate of out-of-school children, dropout, male, female, the rate of illiteracy, and came up with statistics to show that Yobe State has one of the highest rates of out-of-school children, followed by states like Borno, and then poverty too there. And you can now see the linkage with Boko Haram too. So, they say an idle man is the devil's workshop. And again, the poor governance style as it is leading to people losing jobs. More and more people, more and more establishments are being closed down because of the unfavorable economic climate, because of the insecurity, all put together. And as long as you have more people out of jobs, then you should naturally expect that the insecurity will happen. So these are the issues. You see, it's not about party politics, it's about Nigeria. We don't have any other country other than this Nigeria. I don't see myself being free even in Niger Republic or Chad, though we know some people in government have dual nationality. I don't want to talk about that, but nevertheless, and that is why you can see that more capital expenditure is going towards Niger when we need to do much more. Take for instance the Ilorin, Jeba, Mokwa, Tegina, Beningwari way. Money we should have expended in dualizing that way. We are building a rail line to Niger. Today the Nigerians are taking over key sectors of the transport industry. A friend of mine was analyzing that most of these luxurious buses you are beginning to see now are owned by Nigerians. Not to talk of their inroads into the Kantinkori market in Kano and other places, other economic hubs of the north. Well, facilitated by their people who are supposedly Nigerians anyway. So, when you look at these kind of things, you weep for this country. Do our leaders really care about the welfare of the people? Mark you, security and welfare of the people is the basic prerequisite for the existence and justification of any government in power. Has this APC-led government, or has the government in Nigeria as a whole, holistically, have they really shown that? I beg to disagree. Because if it was, or were as it is, the fastidious approach to issues of security, the fastidious approach to issues of good governance, the social media hype about security will not be there. Look at Kaduna State, for instance. We had a situation when Malam Nasiru said he had procured drones and CCTVs to ensure that there is security in the state. But 3 years on now, I challenge you journalists to go and do investigative journalism. Put some around and Nasiru to task. Ask them, where are the drones? Where are they? In government house? If those drones had been used, deployed along Beningwari, Kaduna, Abuja highway, at least it will have almost completely wiped out, the insecurity that you have on that axis. The economy of the Beningwari area would have really, blossomed. Because as it is now, many people around the Beningwari axis cannot go to their farms. Many people it's generally across the state.
Yes,
that refreshed my memory. What Sokapu came up with. I'm sure you must have heard of it. Only just a few days ago, Sokapu came up with a statistics that people in southern Kaduna paid 984 million naira as ransom to kidnappers. But we know that the level of kidnapping in southern Kaduna, as compared to those that is happening in Zone 1 and 2, is a child's play. So it's $1 billion game now, even though, yes, as rightly you know, not about politics but facts, Kaduna State has been declared as the kidnapping capital of the nation.
I want to tie this, very important that I do that, food security. You were talking about that. Again, the North as the food basket of the nation that we once can talk about, but again, it has relegated that position because for very obvious reasons that our farmers cannot be on their fields and all of that. And again, tying it with what His Eminence had said, the Sultan of Sokoto, about the North as a block or a region that is becoming so insecure that life is becoming so very difficult. And again, because we're talking about the nation, if this block or region is threatened by the insecurity that we're seeing, which again is moving to other parts of the country, now, how safe can we all say that we are in the country?
Tell me which state in Nigeria that you can tell me which state in Nigeria that you are completely safe today. Is it in Oyo? Is it in Odo, where the chief of staff's wife was kidnapped? In Oyo, at one point, Governor Makinde's convoy was attacked. A governor's convoy being attacked. I know Nasiru cannot fly Abuja Kaduna highway without a security escort. But he came out one time to tell us that Kaduna Abuja highway is now secured.
I want to give you. I'm asking for a perspectives of.
So what I'm saying,
party,
what I'm saying,
yes.
It goes beyond even the issue of the North. We are virtually in a state of war, as far as I'm concerned, because you are not sure of your safety today if you hit the road to say you want to go to the south, southwest, southeast, northeast, northwest, north central. You cannot be sure. Your family will continue to say the Lord's Prayer until they hear your safe arrival.
That's telling on government too, as it is.
That is what we are saying. Government has failed. Government needs to do more than what it is doing. But is it ready to take? Is it ready to take up the challenge? I don't see the reason why. like I said, the intelligence architecture should not be overhauled. It must be overhauled, because no matter how you look at it, this insecurity goes beyond the issue of the service chiefs. We need to tie up this issue of security quickly and properly with thorough funding of the security forces, and ensure that we get value for money. We must get value for money. Until we're able to get value for money, this war on insurgency and insecurity cannot be won. I just cited an example of Kaduna State for you, that we are not getting value for money. Governors and the government and government right from the federal to the state level, look at the issue of these security votes should be brought on the table. Let's analyze, let's subject it to audit. It has become a drain pipe on our resources, because we are hearing security votes, but we are not getting security.
It has been there a long time before the advent of this government.
But it's so high now. The corruption is so high now.
Now that it's not the turn of your party.
But I just mentioned Issa Sagi. Issa Sagi is a PDP member. He's a member of the inner room. In fact, he's the anchor of the anti-corruption war in the Buhari regime. I call it a regime, not a government. So, if the anchor of the regime on anti-corruption, on corruption, can cry out aloud the way he is, that tells you a lot is wrong.
Okay, let's get out, get the audience be part of it. Questions, I'm sure, will just be waiting, and way out for Nigeria with so many, things coming out of the state. Numbers to call to be part of this program: 081 40 989, 081 40 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 87 800 989. Taking your course now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Job International.
Job International, yes, okay.
I appreciate this topic seriously. What I want to say is only two things, sir. Number one, issue of insecurity. This government in power, they promise 3 things. Insecurity will be wiped away, corruption will be wiped away, and the economy will boom. But the issue of insecurity, as a general, and under him, we became worse. I want him to borrow from Idris Deby of Chad. The issue of corruption. Now the corruption has become the center of everything in Nigeria under this government. From Akpabio to Ashobale to Minister of Justice to the Minister of Justice to the other ministries. All they are being elected, including the EFCC chairman under this regime, and they have done nothing. I want to talk about the issue of kidnapping. The kidnapping, I am just saying that even you bring American services here, they cannot work because the government pattern is the way that the things are going. If you can observe, how can you say Boko Haram, you can give them money to go and settle business? All the people who are killed under them, they were not compensated. And when you come back and say, yes, Allah, you put them at the center of the issue in Nigeria to go and settle with Boko Haram or kidnappers of the children of a school of casinos, and you want the insecurity to finish. So we want government to come out clearly to tell us whether he's using it as compensation.
All right, Joe.
To compensate for what?
Okay, Joe, we got you on that. So many calls, and we're still taking calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, good. It's Francis from Madamudu.
The name again?
Honestly, your guests have really stopped.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
The name again, please. The name.
I say Francis from Madamudu.
Francis, okay.
Your guests have really spoken well. And all you have analyzed is true and what is going on in this country now. To be frank with you, in my own opinion, I don't think we have government.
Well, that's a sweeping statement like that. No.
Okay.
We do have a government.
On here, just like the right point, former chief of staff became an NPC director. Someone that is not even recognized by constitution, made himself an NPC director. That shows that you get government. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll take one more and then we'll come back to our guest here. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Ovaria. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is Musa Bala.
Yes, Musa Bala.
Yes, when you hear Buhari regime, really, it's really working. People have the pain of change. That is why they refer to him as regime. Anyway, he has defeated the fake servants and he has promised to fight corruption. He's fighting corruption. He's not in the position to end corruption and he has never promised that. He is repositioning the economy. He has done his best. He inherited a country from those who claim to be Democrats, but they were borrowing to pay salary despite selling crude oil above 120 with less workers and less population. And he has changed the narrative. Nigeria now is producing what we are. We have seen the confession from one of their asset leaders, how they were used to win elections for Ibrahim Mantu. We have had confession on how they have maltreated and looted Nigerian funds. We have seen repatriation of funds. We have seen a lot of revelation. The recent one that is hitting them is the control of the idle fund that they cannot identify themselves with because the law is now taking its course. He has only did his best, and we are going to have another one that will be his best, but never in the history of this country, by God's grace, that those who must lead this country will have control of it. No matter the propaganda, we have seen the change. God bless Nigeria with good leaders, no matter where they come from, no matter their religion, and God distance us from people that always misinform us and take us to the wrong direction and corrupt leaders and their agents. Good morning, no matter where they come from.
Musabala, thank you. Well, Dr. Osman, Job International, Francis, and then Musabala from the Rare. These are thoughts too. Your take on that?
Well, people are entitled to their opinions, but facts remain sacrosanct. Everybody knows about how the state of insecurity, how things have gone very awry. It's not an issue of propaganda. The statistics about Nigeria being the third most terrorized state did not come from within Nigeria. The statistics about Nigeria being the poverty capital of the world did not come from Nigeria. The issue of Kaduna State being the kidnapping capital of the Nigeria is based on statistics on what is happening in the state. And of course, we have a terror in chief.
I don't know about that. Please stay with
whose governance style is for that, because when you sack people,
no, because you sack doctor, you're coming from the opposition.
When you sack people anyhow, when governance is not being delivered with a human face, you are bound to create problems of society.
You're bound to look at it from a rational point of view.
I'm saying this because I wish to see Malam
the concerns. Yeah, it's not about persons. Yeah, it's not about persons.
Or if the governance style of this government should change, I will praise it.
We can understand.
Only yesterday, I praised the governance style of this government on COVID-19, particularly the issue of the lockdown, though it came without palliatives, and unfortunately, it came again with bad example. What do I mean? The governor came back from Dubai. I don't know why NCDC has not restrained him, and immediately he did not isolate himself. He was found at a political rally. He's been mixing with people. That should not be the way governance is run. It should be do as I do, not as I say. I want to see this be the mantra of governance in Kaduna State and in Nigeria in general.
What I'm putting to the fore here is about the situation of the country, and so look at it devoid of a party affiliation and all of that. That's my.
I've just cited because I've cited an
no, doctor.
Me and you know
that
the NCDC says For anybody that comes into Nigeria, you have to isolate for 10 days. Is that right?
You don't exactly know what happened.
No, is that right?
Yes, I do.
Is that right?
But I'm saying
So
you don't know what happened.
Where and when did Nasiru isolate himself for 10 days? He came in right into. It was very clear in the public glare. It was showing him arriving at the airport, being received, and the next day, hula. The man was everywhere.
From a position point of view, I still have calls, Doctor. Let's deal with this call. Still with your
Good
question.
morning, Mr. Alabi. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good
Good
morning.
morning, doctor.
Morning.
Yes, Kure is the name.
Yes, good.
Honestly, the doctor has spoken very well. Me, all I'm saying, I was respecting the president, even for nothing. Let us have security as a retired general.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I think this service chief, they have done their best, and thank God for them to resign by themselves. That's a good example. They've seen where they are lacking. My plan is about this the chief of general staff. Honestly, I know Sadiq have done his best under his watch. I think they have to put pilot. The grand commandant, honestly, he has a lot to cover, especially in terms of this insurgency of my state. But I'm begging the politicians to remove their hands from this watching move so that this new ones can get their quota. That's a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
No, sir. That's Kuri. Okay, Kuri, thank you on that. Still with your calls. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
My name is Comrade Kanadebe Tezama.
Okay.
I want to congratulate the president, no matter what happened for changing the service chief. And the president gives a haircut and demand what is Boko Haram, insurgency, this kidnappers and others and bandits. So at least one of these groups will be declared terrorists. So the new service chief will not focus and make sure that they polish out these terrorists. Secondly, we talk about 95% of Nigerians. In fact, today they are saying it's not going that way. I want to remind you, even the wife said so some times ago. Thirdly, sir, if you talk about the industry, recently we heard that about almost billions of naira or dollars have been spent on idle refineries. And a lot of us have been calling that these refineries should be revived. Ajokuta still running. And as I'm speaking to you now, even the Tony Alabi knows, Texas industry closed in 2002. Even I myself have not been using payment terminal bill for that. If these industries are working, Kaduna will return back and there's nothing like kidnapping and others. So we pray the parents will focus. And they say the chief of the old chief of service chief, they resign, they retire. So what is the difference between resign and retirement? I think that should be clear for us, sir.
Thank you, Comrade Gabriel. Doctor, we just have...
Resign is when the government does not have the nerve to say I retire or I dismiss you. That is my own perspective. Secondly, I ask about the economic blueprint. General Buhari promised to build one refinery in every year. I have not seen a single refinery so far. And the few that we have even collapsed. They've closed down. Virtually closed down. We are importing fuel today in Nigeria. That is how General Buhari's regime has taken us thus far. They have not been able to match campaign promises with actions on the ground in terms of real democratic dividend delivery. Take the Kaduna Abuja.
Some people would say that
take the Kaduna Abuja expressway. It took just the government of General Babangida under the leadership of the Minister of Works of blessed memory, General Mamman Kutungora. It took him just about 2.5 years to construct afresh the Kano Kaduna Abuja expressway. Today they are telling us that this road, to dualize it, will take them another 5 years. Today you can look at the pace of work. Well, we heard that somebody has collected commission. That is why the work is not going. We are still watching.
Well, Dr. Osman Brahman, I'd like to thank you for coming on the program this morning. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, Tony Alabi. Thank you, listeners, for all your contributions. I respect the views of Nigerians. I'm a Democrat, but facts speak for themselves. Thank you very much.
Perspectives today, and we're looking at Nigeria, what's coming out, and of course, our concern all is to keep the country going, and of course, play your part, and let's have all our hands on deck and work for the unity of this country and work for the progress of this country. I'd like to thank my colleague for connecting me with the people. Morpheus, thank you for doing that. We'll come back with perspectives tomorrow. Good morning.